Hey there, and welcome to the second installation of a Carnage Group multiplayer campaign from a mostly German perspective. As you might remember, I lost 3 armor divisions on a stupid mistake north of Ghent, not noting the sound blocking the retreat of my units. As I lost an armor in Spain too, I'm starting out the attack on Belgium with only 2 out of my planned 6 armor divisions. This is a mistake that might cost the Axis the entire war, but I will try my best to correct it. In the air, however, things are fine. You can see actually on the picture there. Well, Allies have taken a horrendous 3-1 beating, a huge casualty rate for them. So my plan now is to actually stop the AI attacks and run it myself in detail, attacking on thin front and try to push through in Antwerp. Hopefully also south of Namur. But Allies have surely done their own analysis and are preparing something back. But before we really get started the battles, I would like to show you how things are looking from the Italian perspective. And as you can see, it's a massive investment in Regia Marina, but a bit weak on everything else, including planes, which I think is dangerous. So Antwerp is where I hope the shit will go down. It's a bloody ruin after a month of battles, bombings, naval bombardment, and certainly a lot of interceptor crashing down among the infantry. It's cold and simply a nasty place to be in. But I will start to wear down his entire front line before I will then attack on a thin front and try break through there on a narrow segment of the front line. As you can see, my bombers are really hitting the defenders, but they are in turn being punished by lots of anti-aircraft brigades, painting the sky with tracers. So this is the expensive kind of war. Here I'm attacking on a narrow strip into Charleroi, but as you can see, even the Belgian infantry gets strong defensive values. So it's a bloody battle. But this attacks with low frontage is one of the few ways that I can get through this pack of defenders. But look at that! I got through in Charleroi. That was unexpected, and I must say, not super logic. Still, somewhat of an air superiority, and that's important. The Brits are attacking wildly, but the German won't leave those woods anytime soon. In Antwerp, my new medium armor are attacking on narrow front according to plan, but the going is slow. It's just a meat grinder. No blitz whatsoever. You simply need panzers for that. It is the 14th of November, 2.5 months into the attack of the West, and Antwerpen has fallen. My tactics was successful, and although the Belgians counterattacked bravely into the ruins, the Germans are here to stay. In the tactics window you can see the vain Allied counterattack into Charleroi. It will not succeed. But on the other hand, the Wehrmacht are locked in defensive battle and cannot push further. In Brussels, another ruined city, the defenders still hold firm, as well as south of Namur, where I had hoped to get through. 3 days later, and the Wehrmacht is attacking furiously out of Antwerp. The Belgian defenders are reeling back, seemingly deserted by the British expeditionary forces. A paratrooper is prepared to support the attack, waiting for green light. Battles are ongoing in Brussels, as well as in Charleroi. Also, Japan declared their second war on China to correct the strange border of the first peace agreement. Alright, so here we are. It's German onslaught. The Belgian defenders cannot resist this armor onslaught now when we are on open ground. However, I would like to look at the air situation. Now you can't see the superiority here because it's paused, but as you can see, we still have the air detection bonus here on about 60%, while the Allies have 1. That's what have benefited us so much during these fights. As you can see, if you look at the monthly, the long-term statistics, it is this 1-to-3 ratio that I've been talking about in losses, roughly. Although if you see the bombers, it's fairly similar. It's quite high on the German side. But if you look at the shorter statistics, it's not 1-to-3 ratio anymore. It's thinning out to 1-to-2, roughly. And why is that? Well, my plan was to win this Battle of France in about 3 months. So I invested heavily in my B109s, and my Delta version that I have 900 of roughly is upgraded and very good for being a level 1 airplane. And they kicked ass initially. But if you look at the Allied side, they have a lot of bullshit, but at the bottom you see the Spitfire, 500 Spitfires now in middle of November. They are level 2 and they are probably a lot better 1-to-1 towards my Bf-109s. If I would win this war within a couple of days, it doesn't really matter, because then the air fights in earnest are over, and I can invest in peace in my level 2 fighters. But as the situation is now, this is a problem and it will grow worse, and I am not actually close to having level 2 fighters. And even if I was, I'm a bit doubtful to ruin my very high production line that I have ongoing in my level 1 fighter. So this is a problem. I don't really know how to balance this in the best way, rather other than to win quickly here in France. But right now, well, we'll see how quickly this will go. Well, fairly quick. Quicker than I thought. In just a week, the Wehrmacht broke out of Antwerp and blitzed along the coastline, capturing quite a few Belgian divisions along the way. The British Expeditionary Forces took no chances and retreated to a prepared defensive line further south. As you also can see, what I might lack in air technology, I take back in great care for the wounded men. Leave no man behind, and all of that. For Germany, I think this is a really useful tech. It saves manpower and keep your experience high. Yes, so this fast blitz was partial to the fact that I now have 3 medium armor division on top of the 2 heavies. That's giving an extra punch. But you can also see that the UK and French player, the British and the French player, have retreated southwards to a prepared line. So they didn't give me very much of a fight here. Anyway, Brussels is about to fall, and with Brussels, Belgium will fall. Lille will fall quite soon, and this province south of Charleroi will fall soon too. But you see, it's only the Belgians fighting, and they will soon be gone, which is good riddance. But the fact that things were so quickly was, of course, that the Allies are preparing something here. They did not want to take the fight up here in the open, but rather have me kill the Belgians and then come down to a line which I presume will be somewhere along here in the forest. You see these forts. And we don't play with the DLC with flame tanks, so I have no flame tanks, so I have to punch through in another way. That will be bloody. 3 days later, Belgium capitulated. Phew, that was a long time coming. Antwerp was certainly the key. And I think the Allies could have stayed longer in Belgium, supported by naval bombardment at the coast. Well, better safe than sorry, they say. Soon I will try to get through the next Allied concrete-supported defensive line. But before that, let's have a look at some other events of the war. With the new Belgian ports in my possession, the wolf packs are sent out, west of the British Isles, into the western approaches. They found fat targets and tore into the unescorted transports, carrying God knows what, fuel likely, or perhaps aluminium to their damned Spitfires. 14+ transport ships were sunk this time, and it was not the first and not the last. Japan busted China, again. This time, China was vanquished properly. Japan can again have somewhat of a peace to prepare for something bigger. Lots of battles have been going on in the mountainous deserts of Ethiopia. A cynical fun fact is that the Brits are losing more men in Ethiopia than in France and Belgium. The cost of attacking. The Italian colonial forces are digging in and fight for every cliff, crevasse and cracked stretch of dry dirt in the burning sun. In Tunisia, the Allies have been pushed back and have dug in a hedgehog defense around the port of Bizerte, from where they are hard to dislodge for the Italians, who lack both in supply and some equipment. Well, good job by Il Duce. Oh wow, the Brits have marines, and Churchill, aka Telamon, seemed to be keen to use them. He was actually quite close to get a foothold on the beaches, but the Italians managed to reinforce, and now the Brits seem to be in a pickle. But the Italians seem to not have too many reserves. But they do have the Regia Marina Fantastico, and this is the escort fleet or the landing fleet. And what you unfortunately cannot see behind the tooltip is the sunk British transports with Marines on them, 4 divisions. And 4 divisions that are mostly destroyed, almost to the last men. Sicily is saved for now, but the naval battle is ongoing. So curiosity killed the cat. Well, an amphibious landing without naval supremacy is a dangerous thing. Honestly, I think Telamon probably has a doomstack close by, but it was perhaps delayed by something else. What do you say, Telamon? Feel free to comment. And like in Bizerte in Tunis, the Commonwealth forces cling on to Casablanca. It would certainly be nice if Italy could close the west of North Africa. So we are back in Europe. The Wehrmacht have reached the new Allied defensive line, and the going is tough. The Brits are dug in, the Germans have some difficulty with supply, and the going is slow. And how about the air situation? Well, in Benelux, the war is over. It's all German. But everything has moved down to northern France. And you see, Germany have a slight lead, the Luftwaffe have a lead, but the air detection has dropped. We no longer have the same amount of air detection. And you look at the casualty rate, it's not good. And why have the air detection been going down? Well, because the radar isn't reaching that far. And without the radar, the detection is low. So, we've just passed Christmas. Merry Christmas to you all. But there's Santa doesn't seem to come to the Wehrmacht. Here you see how we are more or less stuck against the new Allied defensive line, all the forts, rivers. It's really hard to get across. You see these values and all the negative modifications we get when we try to get across. It's really, really hard. And you see the amount of planes that goes down. They have anti-air as well. So I'm trying to soften up the defenses, but it is at a hard cost. Here perhaps would be a better place to get through. You see that I've actually gained a couple of provinces here. I didn't think so, but I even got the forts here, level 5 forts, so pretty happy about that. But if you look at the supply situation, it's not optimal. I've sort of reached the end of the line down here. It's difficult to get any further. Another thing that is slightly troublesome is that I'm starting to use a lot of bullshit weaponry that I have captured from other nations. I mean, it's good that I use them. I still have a stockpile that is fairly good in most things, but it's a clear sign that I'm losing I don't produce enough of the top equipment. I didn't count on these kind of high losses, honestly. And another thing, well, I'm not gonna tire you with everything about, but you see now my leadership in planes, in the number of planes is going down. The air detection is lower, and you see the losses now are even Steven, and actually to the benefit of the Allies right now. So it's not a good situation in the air, or at least it's deteriorating. It's still not a catastrophe, but it will be, I guess. I think it's interesting how your planning horizon affects the production and how things turn out. If I indeed had been quicker in my attack, my planning had been superb. But now, and Telamons would have been too slow, Telamon being the British player. But now, as things drag out, my planning horizon has been too short, and Telamon's has been perfect. So it's interesting how things turn out. Anyway, very briefly, I was just going to show you the Battle of Casablanca is going in the Italian direction. You know, there were 4 divisions here previously. Now there's only 1. And Italy will eventually win this battle. That's great news. It's good that Italians are doing some good stuff while this slugfest is continuing here. I would like to end this second installment of Carnage and Butchery on a happy note. German wolf packs are finding huge armadas of unescorted British convoys and sink quite a lot of them. I do wonder what Telamon is importing. It must be expensive. Or can it be Lend-Lease already? Anyhow, thanks for joining us. Feel free to comment, to like and to follow. And let's see how this rather failed German offensive will proceed. Over and out.